This is Golden Years, a roadmap to navigate retirement with Mark Cordner, the podcast.
You know, we have talked before about people considering legitimately relocating to a more tax-friendly state in retirement, but what about just moving to an entire another country? I've heard lots of people talking about that for various reasons. You know, with the cost of living continuing to rise, a growing number of pre-retirees are wondering if their savings could be stretched further in another country rather than stateside here. So, Mark, first of all, are you encountering this a lot? And how do you work this out? I mean, the undertaking of moving across country, you know, the cost of living, all of that.
Oh, we deal with this all the time. I mean, we're dealing with such a volume of people. I mean, certainly when I do these free classes we do down at the college, the adult education classes, we always get people who bring this topic up. And so certainly we've all heard about moving to Tennessee or Texas or Nevada to reduce our taxes, to avoid state income taxes. But a lot of people are looking abroad because the dollar can go further there. I know I've had this conversation with a lot of people who perhaps feel they haven't been able to save as much as they wanted to, or maybe they have ethnic ties to another country. So I'm a big advocate of this. I mean, I personally would live in Europe if my family circumstances were different, because that's just where my heart is, you know, from my childhood. Love the diversity there. But we've seen a lot of people who have, you know, over the years have talked about Costa Rica or other areas in Central America. Portugal's become a hot spot. Croatia is actually a really unique spot right now that's getting a lot of attention, you know, in other European countries. But those are probably the top three that we hear about. Thailand. Thailand's become, I've got a personal friend, a dear friend who got divorced and just up and went to Thailand, and he's been loving it. His pension goes a lot further over there. He's living like a king. The caution I would give to people, though, is if you've never lived internationally, don't just make the jump. You know, spend a little time over there. I mean, I've lived internationally for 6 years. I've lived in 3 different countries in Europe, and you know, there's language issues, there's cultural differences that people need to come to grips with, and it's a great fit for some, not a great fit for everyone. The biggest concern people need to look into is health care. And some countries have, I know from family experience in Mexico, my wife had incredible care in Mexico. Some cultures are better caregivers. But you know, how are we going to finance that? Do you have access to the healthcare system in a particular country? And many countries, believe it or not, will allow you to effectively buy into their social health insurance system if you can prove that you have a guaranteed source of income. So that may be your Social Security, it may be pension, it may be an annuity. But if you can literally prove to another country that you have basic income that will be there for you, so you know, so that they know you're not going to come in and be a drain on their system, many of them will allow you to buy into or to join into their healthcare programs, and that can be a wonderful thing. But I would say that's a very serious thing to consider beforehand. It's not just a skilled medical care, but it's also the long-term care kind of caregiving, and recognize that the day may come, if you don't have the family support system there, that you may want to come back to the States. And so, again, economics are a big part of it, but I would say equally important are going to be these things like health care. What are your social opportunities going to be over there, for example? You know, how are you going to spend your days? Just like over here, how are you going to spend your days in retirement? And if you're not a gregarious type who's going to reach out and meet the neighbor, some countries you may find yourself isolated and then coming back. So this is a great topic. I'm really glad you brought it up, because people who think about this, who wonder about it, who read about it on the internet, think that they're unique maybe in considering going to some other country. Not unique. Not unique anymore. This is very, very common. Now, I'm not going to say that everyone acts on it, but people are absolutely looking into it, because you can live like a king or queen in some countries.
Yeah, we're here in the States, you might be living paycheck to paycheck. So, you know, for some folks that are wanting to do that, that's always an option. There's pros and cons to everything, of course, but that's all part of the conversation that you have with Mark. And you say, look, this is what we want to do in retirement. These are our wants, needs, fears, desires. We're thinking about moving to whatever country it is. Let's weigh the options on what is best and how long is my money going to be stretched, whether it's here in the U.S. or in this other country. This is all part of that conversation. This is simply not something that you and your spouse, sleep on it and think about it and go, yep, let's go. Let's pack it up and move. That is a big no-no. You don't want to pick up and move and then realize, oh, all of this, took our money away, or we weren't prepared, or whatever it is. This is all, again, part of that retirement roadmap, a conversation you talk about, because where's the road of your retirement leading? Is it leading to another country, to another state? Is it leading to, I've seen people living on cruise ships. Have you heard about this?
Yes. Yeah, very commonly.
That's crazy.
And so my question is always, where are the grandkids? I mean, that's the first question for a lot of people is, where are the grandkids? Because that's where their heart, their love is, their passion is. And so, there's all these considerations. But, I'm not a cruise ship type to that degree.
Now, a recent survey by Fidelity found that 72%, that's a lot, folks, 72% of current retirees wished they had opened a Roth IRA earlier in their careers. They said that they missed the tax-free growth and the withdrawals. So if we learn something from this, we can talk about an IRA to Roth conversion all day long, but how difficult is it and what are the benefits, Mark?
Oh, it's very easy, and the benefits are wonderful. I mean, the Roth IRA is one of our greatest friends. Now, the Roth is not the only source of tax-free income. There are other sources that we help people access. I believe in multiple sources of income for security purposes, but the Roth is the easy go-to. It's accessible to anyone during their working years. As long as you have active earnings, you're allowed to contribute to an individual retirement account, or if you have a group plan like a 401k or 403b or 457, you can contribute to those voluntary savings plans. But the idea of the Roth is, well, it was named after Senator Roth, R-O-T-H. That's where the name comes from. But the idea is that rather than deferring our taxes into the future and paying at some unknown future date, whatever the future rate is, the idea is instead we're going to pay the taxes now based upon today's known tax rates, which candidly are historically low. And so for those of us who believe the tax rates are going to have to go up in the future as a sheer consequence of our national debt and the unfunded liabilities we have with Medicare and Social Security, if you're like me and believe the tax rates are going to have to go up in the future, then we pay the tax now and we get into these Roth programs. And the wonderful thing that you mentioned is the conversion. A lot of people don't really know how it works, but the idea is you may have saved money over prior years or decades. It's never been taxed before. You effectively have a lien against your retirement account that's due to the IRS at some future date. And so the invitation is, to the degree you're willing to pay the tax now, you can liberate that money and convert it from traditional tax-deferred IRA status to Roth tax-free IRA status. So you're basically paying off Uncle Sam to liberate that money so it can grow into the future without taxation, both on the seed money as well as future earnings. So this is a big deal from an estate planning standpoint, too. If we want to leave money to our children or grandchildren, the question is, do you want to leave it to them taxably or tax-free? This is, I would say, a key part of our practice without question. I mean, everyone that comes and visits with us hears about this. And an offer we'll make to listeners here, as we do to everyone who comes in, is, let us do an analysis for you. We will do a tax analysis for you that helps you understand exactly what the cost will be to liberate your money, to pay off Uncle Sam now, be it all at once in a single swoop, or if it's piecemeal over a period of years. We can do the math for you, create a roadmap to get your money liberated, so that it is truly tax-free, legally off the radar, because you already paid off Uncle Sam. We'll do that tax analysis for you, and then you can share that with your CPA. The CPA is thrilled because we did the work for them. They do the rubber, they do the rubber stamp on it. They give you the tax advice you need. We do some legwork there. So not only do we show you what the price is, the toll gate, to get to that promised land of tax-free living, we calculate that for you, but then we also can calculate for you what the expected lifetime savings is going to be. Then you can make a very informed choice of, do I want to go through the hassle of converting? It's not a difficult thing. It's a very easy thing, but it is something you got to deal with, and we'll take all the stress and strain out of that for you. Come visit with us. We'll do that for you. We can get these reports done for you and help you really have an informed perspective on your tax situation.
These days, I don't know about you, Mark, I'm doing everything to save 2 cents, 5 cents, 25 cents, everything from digital coupons to waiting for the big sale, maybe even using credit card points. How far do you go to save just a few cents off a couple items or maybe a luxury, something like that?
Oh, well, my wife and I are very conscious of that, so we're definitely going to look for the value where we can get it, recognize that price and value are not the same thing, but I'm a big advocate of not spending frivolously, and so we're going to hold on to the money. It was too hard to earn not to pay attention to that. So wealth is not spending your money. It's having money left over. The way to become wealthy is not to spend everything you have, so we have to be conscious in different ways. I'm not going to drive 20 miles to save 5 cents per gallon. I'm not that obsessive about it. I'll give a quick example on this. My wife grew up with the perception that her family didn't have any money and all this. And so I would say this in front of her, of course. I'm saying it over the radio. We've had this conversation many times that the cheapest item is not always the best. And so, I've always encouraged her, spend a little bit more for quality, because the quality item may cost you 20% more, but if it lasts twice as long, you've got far more value out of that. And that is as simple as a blouse. It's as simple as cleaning products, whatever. Every aspect of our life, we absolutely need to be aware of cost.
Yeah, and you're right about that, the quality of something, because otherwise you're going to pay double than what you could have if you just made the decision to, you said pay 20% more. Well, comedian Greg Warren says that his dad is a loyal St. Louis Cardinals fan who loves a promotion and takes 20 cents off his convenience store coffee if the team scores 6 runs or more. Listen to this.
We're watching the game one time, and it's late in the game. The Cardinals they're winning like 5-0, and basically they had the game won. But he's locked in because he hadn't gotten his coffee yet. And our best hitter came up, and he grounded into a double play to end the inning. And my dad looked at me and goes, "Seems kind of fishy, huh?" Yeah, they're point shaving, Dad. They're point shaving. Yeah, the Cardinals are in collusion with Mobile on the Run, so you don't save 20 cents on your coffee tomorrow. Like, I would call the FBI, Dad. This has got to go to the top. This is important.
This is a big deal. This is a big deal. It's a little fishy. Well, there are retirees who have an excellent retirement plan, yet they won't spend the money because they've saved over a lifetime. And you almost have that mindset of, well, what if, or what if I buy this? Can I afford that? There's this PTSD of the money running out. How do you help loosen them up and give them the confidence, Mark?
Oh, my heavens. I can think of a few stories here that immediately come to mind, because a lot of people really do kind of cut their nose off to spite their face, as the expression goes. They're so tight with themselves that they miss the big picture. I can think of a friend who has a client down in Arizona. He's a money manager, and this woman's in her 70s. She's got $15 million, and she won't spend it.
Oh, my
gosh. Because she's concerned about a rainy day. Healthcare-wise, she's worried about a rainy day. And I'm thinking, $15 million, how big is that healthcare problem going to be? Now, unfortunately, this friend of mine does not deal with insurance strategies, doesn't do long-term care planning and the things that we do. He only believes in, home runs in the market, as it were. And unfortunately, that client is missing out on opportunities. I try to explain to him, if you'll just partition 10% of that money off, whatever she thinks of as her rainy day portion, partition that off, build these structures around the portfolio, then it's like building a moat around your financial castle. You've got this barrier that protects your assets. And the beautiful thing of that is, you may have earmarked 10% for these strategies, but now you can go live on the 90%. That's the whole point.
Wow.
You're now mentally liberated to enjoy the 90%. But people who don't plan properly, in my opinion, they end up holding on to all their money. They live too tight. And so there's a story I think I've told here on the radio before. I'll quickly tell again about a man who spent his working years living very frugally with the dream of one day retiring and going on a cruise. And that day came, and he went on a cruise, and he had wonderful experiences portside, exploring these new cities. But every night he would go back into the cruise ship, and he would go down to his little bunk, and he would eat sardines and crackers. And he would walk by these dining rooms and wonder, wow, I wonder what it costs to go in there. And it was only on the last night of the cruise that this man finally got the nerve up to ask a fellow traveler, what does it cost to go in those dining rooms? And the other guest looked at him just in total shock and says, well, what do you mean? You paid for that all with the cruise. This poor man discovers the last night of the cruise that he had not lived up to his privileges. He had paid for these privileges. He could have had a much more wonderful experience, but because of his poor mental habits, he had constrained himself to the point that he didn't live up to his privileges. He didn't have the experience he could have had. And we see this a lot with people who have been really good savers, and they have a very hard time transitioning from being very conservative to now allowing themselves to breathe and to live. And I think that's one of the greatest values that we provide to our clients, is I often am encouraging clients to go out. In some cases, I'm creating a structured stream of income that's earmarked specifically for travel or whatever it is that's important to the client. Sometimes we have to build those structures in for them so that people will allow themselves to enjoy what they have. So frugality is a wonderful thing. It helps prepare us for wealth and for future opportunities. But hopefully it doesn't constrain us from living the life that we could have lived, that we really would like to live. That's where a coach like myself comes into play. We're financial coaches in so many ways, and that's why we invite people to come visit with us. Come learn what you don't know so you can live the way you'd like to live.
Investment advisory services offered through Golden Years Financial LLC, a registered investment advisory firm. Insurance is offered through Golden Years Insurance Services. These firms do not provide legal or tax advice. Consult your own legal and tax advisors before taking actions that may have tax implications. Investing in securities involves risk, including the potential loss of principal. Insurance contracts principal protection is based on the claim-paying ability of the respective insurer. None of the information contained on this website shall constitute an offer to sell or solicit to buy a security or insurance product. The information and opinions contained on this site or requested from this site are provided by third parties believed to be reliable, but accuracy and completeness cannot be guaranteed. They are provided for informational purposes only and are not a solicitation to buy or sell any of the products mentioned. Any media logos and or trademarks contained herein are the property of their respective owners, and no endorsement by those owners of Mark Cordner, Golden Years Financial, or Golden Years Insurance is stated or implied.